Hey, so I've been meaning to make this tutorial for a really long time, like since I started in like 2020, because a bunch of people have asked me about it from all of the songs I've released as Project Terror in the past, and I've used it on so many songs, and that is the ambient piano stuff, like the particle-y stuff that I do on my songs. I don't use it as much these days, but every now and then it is still really useful, and it's quite a cool way of doing it. As a bit of a disclaimer, this is not my technique. I did not invent this at all. It's kind of inspired by the 1975's work on their album A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, which you can hear on the song Love Theme, and you can hear it on a few other releases of theirs as well. I'd kind of been looking for a way to replicate this. I saw someone do something very similar, if not pretty much the same as this, somewhere else on YouTube, and I can't find that tutorial. So for the people that have been asking, this is that tutorial. It's really straightforward and really simple, so I will show you how it kind of works. And the first thing really to do is to find a piano that you like, and you can use other sounds, but we'll get to that. So how I've done this is I've used a piano which it's just 3 C's, right? It's just 3 C's across 3 octaves, just stepping up, and you can hear the sample that I use for it, which is this. And you can see by my terrible naming scheme there that for me, like, I experimented with a bunch of different ways of spacing out the notes, and you'll see why that becomes relevant once we start setting up the sound in Serum, because that's what we're going to use for this. You can also use Vital and pretty much any other simple synth or sampler that allows you to load in some sort of like just noise wave file sample. So yeah, you can experiment with different distance between the notes. I found this worked really well for what I wanted, but you might want to space out the notes further or put them closer together and try different things, because it's one of those things you can really experiment with once you understand kind of the fundamentals of it. So to give you a quick demonstration of how the sound works once it's set up in Serum, it's like you can see we're only using the noise oscillator in here, and it works best with a sustain pedal. I don't have one on this keyboard and I'm not moving over there, so what I've done is I've set up a MIDI file which just has sustain turned on all the way through. So if I play this and then I start playing chords, they sustain and I can keep adding notes to them. There we go, you'll start to hear it build now. And you can add multiple copies of different notes, so it's one of those things where I will just play a bunch of notes, let it play out, and end up keeping the audio or not keeping the audio and things like that. And you can just keep adding notes to it and get as experimental as you want with it. I find it works really well with fifths and sort of suspended chords as well. You can see it very quickly becomes something very dense and very nice, and it's so nice for like texturing and stuff. So how the sound works, all we are doing is we're loading this noise file, the wave file, into the noise oscillator of Serum, so it's just in my user noise folder, and you can see I've got a bunch of other ones as well in here as well, where I've tried different things basically. You just then need key tracking on, which is the little piano icon there, and then I had the level set to max, pan in the middle, phase in the middle, and then I don't know what this does. I really feel like I should know what this does. Noise random phase determines how random the start position in the noise sample is, so I guess this will choose where it's starting the sample from. So I've just set it there, and that's where I've always had it for this. And then from there it's literally just setting like a slow attack on it, because otherwise especially with the randomization, you'll get like the noise kind of cutting in and out at random times, so it's making it as soft as possible. And then giving it quite a long release, a decent sustain, and then a decent decay. You can pretty much copy those settings and just mess around with it. You're not using like most of the synth here, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the sound, and then you can start layering reverbs on it and kind of going a bit crazy with it. So we can chuck like a big sky on it, bring that over here, get something really quite dreamy going on. And then yeah, we can just jam with it. And you can just add notes to it, and it's such a wonderful way to just create ambience and create texture. You can throw like an RC20 on there to kind of give it that bit of like lo-fi warble to it. Turn the noise off, bring some of the distortion down. And that's pretty much the sound. That's pretty much it. Like, there really isn't much more to it. Obviously, like I say, if you experiment with different spacings of the notes, because what it's doing, let turn this down a sec. What Serum is doing is when it's remapping the pitch of the notes, which we've done as 3 Cs, right? It's speeding up the sample and slowing it down. So it's creating different times between the notes. So it's not always using the same spacing as we used on those Cs, which gives it that kind of particle-y sort of feel and like randomization, which I really love. You can get a similar sort of effect with Native Instruments' Noir Particles mode, but what I found so much more interesting about this is it feels more personal, just because it's, I've chosen the lengths and kind of made the sample, and you can use any piano, you can use a harp, a celeste, a glockenspiel, you could use a guitar, you could use a vocal and just create little like reverby stabs or something, and it's just a really interesting way to add some depth and texture to your tracks. So that's it. That's pretty much the tutorial. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if there's any other tutorials you want me to do, I would like to start doing more stuff on YouTube. So let me know, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. So bye.